Hi everyone, Laptin here. Welcome to another episode of CXed. I've got a special one today where we have a special guest with Jasmin Loke, who's the GM of Ryker Capital. And Jasmin today will be talking especially around financial planners, the cost of living, and how we can help, acquire and maintain and manage our customers, especially in this kind of very trying and uncertain times. Jasmin.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction and for having me on the program today, Laptin. Look, I think wherever you go today, you will find that there are a lot of pressures on costs for everybody. And that really got me thinking about my industry. So I look after the day-to-day management, growth, and well-being of the financial advice clients at Ryker Capital. We are very blessed to have quite a large business and look after a lot of clients. But I've certainly spoken to a lot of colleagues and peers in the industry in the last few months around the topic of rising costs. As a financial advice profession, we have seen the cost of producing advice significantly increase in the last 5 to 10 years. So along the lines of that cost of living pressure increase, financial advice firms have been feeling that for a lot of time. So what I wanted to do today is probably just try to unpack that topic a little bit. As a financial advisor, what are some of the implications of advice costs rising for the industry, for the people that we serve, and really for the whole country? And then maybe we can share some tips to see what are some of the solutions to the problems, what are some of the things Ryker is doing, and what are some of the ideas we have for the industry. How does that sound, Laptin?
Oh, it sounds fantastic. I'm sure our audience is very excited. Yeah, that's the kind of information straight from the horse's mouth that they'll be keen on.
Beautiful. Well, look, I think the first thing we need to think about when we consider any problem is what are the true implications. So the cost of advice production rising in the back end leads to a higher cost of that product or that service in the marketplace. And naturally, you will see a lot less people than either able or willing to spend that kind of money. That then has a flow-on effect because financial advice is actually something that allows a lot of people to make a lot more use of their finite resources. So when we see people get financial advice, we see them really able to make the most of their dollar. They pay less tax overall, they get more from their investments, they make smarter choices when it comes to things like reducing debt. They often pay less for their sort of superannuation and insurance products, investment products, because they've received professional advice. So overall, you can see less people able to take advantage of that, which is obviously not great for them on a personal level and for those families that are impacted. But that then has a greater flow and effect to the economy. I was just at an event last week that the FAAA ran, and there's some really cool studies out there of what financial advice actually does for the overall economy. So when people have that ability to do better, make their dollar go further, and when they gain that knowledge over the time that they've known their financial advisor and work with their financial advisor, they make smarter choices. So the overall GDP of the country is actually positively impacted by that. So when you have these kinds of thoughts and these kinds of implications running through your mind as a financial advisor, I think it's really important to kind of think about what the type of solutions are that you might be able to think about. Laptin, what do you think? You're in the tech space.
Yeah, well, that's right. And you're right. And I think a lot of it comes down to, your point, the hidden value, right? The misunderstood, it's there, but maybe we're not expressing it as well. And I think that's so that when people actually sit back and go, of all the things, costs are rising, but where do I cut my costs? It's easy to go, well, financial advice is expensive, we're not spending a lot of money. You target there, but really they're not thinking about the value it adds.
That's right.
From a solution of how can we help communicate, differentiate, and demonstrate that value as much as we can, which I'm sure that's what you've been doing a lot at Ryker.
We do that a lot. So when I put my financial advice business ownership hat on, and I think about those constant pressures that are weighing me down when it comes to expenses, or when I think about how much it costs me to implement new processes in my business, I often encourage people to really put that to one side and think about how can I make investments into my practice that will benefit me overall, allow me to keep the controlled costs available for myself in my business, to be able to make sure that that doesn't take overhand, and be able to still produce the advice at a cost that's affordable for a large part of the consumer base. So one of the solutions that I would encourage advisors to think about is to actually consider, well, what sort of a process do I follow in my practice? So having a good old-fashioned process mapping session and sitting down and thinking about what are the things that I do in my practice day to day. Are they actually essential, and do they add value to my clients? So sitting down, mapping out your process, and then looking at where the costs are actually sleeping, and whether or not I might be able to find some quick wins there to be able to just simply stop doing a particular type of letter, or stop telling my client the same thing 3 times. I've spoken to advisors that hand out financial services guides at every meeting, for example, or the advisor hands it out and admin hands it out again. So there are some quick wins that you can actually identify yourself just by doing a process mapping session. The second thing that you could also do is take a look at a lot of the technology and artificial intelligence solutions that are out there. So since we've had so much attention from the government and from various other parts of the industry on financial advice, there's been actually some really great investment from tech companies into our sector. So are there things that you can automate in your practice? Are there things that you can have AI do so that you don't have to pay someone to do that, or that you don't have to spend your time doing it? Because don't forget, as the advisor, you are, or should be, the highest earning and also the highest costing a person in the practice. So one of the things that I'm thinking about there that anybody can implement tomorrow is something like an automatic calendar solution, where your clients can click on the bottom of your email signature, book their own appointments, and if you get a really cool solution, you can actually have them remind a client about appointments in an automatic way as well. So that's a really good way of being able to understand how AI might be able to change your business. There are then some other really cool functions out there that for example, can automate the sending of things like your financial services guide. So by you or your team member essentially completing a task in your workflow system, that system can send out the financial services guide. And that has 2 main effects. First of all, it makes you feel safe as the practice owner that has gone out. It was done by a computer, so you've got that confirmation. It'll sit in your file automatically. And secondly, it will take you much less time. So it frees up yourself and your admin team to really have more time to spend with clients. So I guess from my perspective, those are probably the 2 main things that I would encourage advisors to do. And then thirdly, but certainly not last, definitely think about how you can automate some of the educational side of things. So the more general advice pieces that we do provide as part of the educational side of things for our clients. How can you automate that? Maybe doing some cool videos that really engage your clients. When they then come to the meeting, or when they come to the plan presentation or review meeting, they've actually already done some of the thinking, which will save you time, and it will allow you to concentrate on what your clients really want to talk about. You don't have to go and cover ground again that they've already educated themselves on.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, those are great ideas. And if we summarize that up, really, there's a lot of experience and automation. Now, how do we use a combination of automation to improve, like speed up our own processes, but also use the automation to help improve the customer experience as well, right? So that customers, our clients, value what we do, and they enjoy the experience more, right? So it becomes, less of a chore and more of a, hey, look, I love to spend time with Jasmin. I love to spend time with my advisor, my planner, and all this advice and all this education, all this information I get. Wow, it's a brilliant experience. Why would I give that up, right? It adds so much more value to me. I think that's really the crux of it. And also fantastic, Jasmin. I really appreciate your time today, and for those bringing along your insights and sharing your insights and ideas. So for everyone here, once again, that's been another episode of CXed. Look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, let's engage more and sell more together.